They say the night hides more than shadows. It hides the truth.
Welcome to Mr. Haunting Whispers, where real crimes, true horrors, and restless spirits speak through the silence. Listen closely, because sometimes the whispers are real.
When I woke up in the hospital, I couldn't remember my name. They told me I'd been in a car accident, single vehicle, late night, no one else involved. Apparently, I'd swerved off the highway and hit a tree head on. No alcohol, no drugs, just a sudden veer into the dark. The doctors called it retrograde amnesia, said it would come back in pieces, like shards of glass finding their way into focus again. My wife, Claire, stayed with me through every test, every long pause where I pretended to recognize faces I couldn't. But the truth was, the only voice that sounded familiar wasn't hers. It started on my third night in the hospital. Late, the kind of silence that feels too still. I was drifting in and out of half sleep when I heard someone whisper my name. Daniel. Soft, calm, not through the door, inside the room. I thought maybe it was Claire, but when I opened my eyes, she was asleep in the chair across from me. The room was empty, dimly lit by the monitors. I told myself it was the medication, morphine dreams, nothing more. But then it said something else. It's okay, son. I'm here. That's when I froze, because I knew that voice. Even though my memory was scattered, the recognition hit me like lightning. It was him, my father, the man who died 12 years ago. When I told Claire the next morning, she smiled sadly, said sometimes trauma makes the brain fill in the blanks with comfort. But it didn't feel like comfort. It felt like someone had reached through a curtain I wasn't supposed to see behind. Over the next few days, it happened again. Always late, always after the hallway lights dimmed. Sometimes he'd hum, a tune I almost remembered. Other times, he'd speak just one or two sentences. Don't trust what they tell you. You didn't do what they think. It wasn't your fault. By the end of the week, I was afraid to sleep. The hospital arranged for a therapist, Dr. Heller. She was calm, methodical, the kind of person who makes you feel like your words are being cataloged in real time. She set up a small recorder during our first session, said it helped her take notes later. I told her everything, the accident, the blank spaces, the voice. She nodded often, asked when I heard it, what it said, how it made me feel. When the session ended, she promised she'd review the tape and see if there was any pattern to what I was describing. 2 days later, she called me back in, looking uneasy. She said she'd listened to the recording, and then she asked, very quietly, if I wanted to hear something. She pressed play. The first half was exactly what I remembered, my voice, hers, the low hum of the air conditioner. But halfway through, there was a pause, static, and then, faintly, unmistakably, another voice. Daniel, remember what you did. Dr. Heller looked at me. Did you hear that? She asked. I nodded, heart pounding. But what she said next chilled me more than the voice itself. Daniel, that wasn't you, and it wasn't me. After that, things spiraled. Every night, the voice came closer. It wasn't whispering anymore. It was speaking, filling the silence with words that pressed against my ribs like cold air. They said you fell asleep at the wheel. That's not what happened, is it? You saw the boy on the road. I started remembering flashes, headlights, rain, a curve, a small shape darting into the lane, a scream, glass shattering. When I told Claire, she cried. She said the police had found no one else at the scene, no body, no evidence. But my father's voice kept saying otherwise. Go back. You left him there. A week after I was discharged, I drove back to the crash site. It was late, raining again, almost exactly the same conditions as that night. The road curved along a tree line, and just beyond the guardrail, my headlights caught something glinting. A small metal object, half buried in the mud. I pulled over. It was a bicycle reflector, cracked. Then I heard it, not through the air, but inside the car. Like it was coming from the speakers, though the radio was off. Now you remember. And suddenly, everything came back. The boy, the impact, the panic. I had gotten out that night. I'd looked for him, but I hadn't found a body, only blood and that reflector. I'd told myself it was a deer, driven home, buried the guilt so deep that my brain erased it, until now. When I turned back towards the road, I saw someone standing by the tree line, a silhouette, small, soaked in shadow, unmoving. Behind him, another figure, older, familiar, my father. He looked at me, eyes calm, and said, "It's time to finish what you left undone." Then the boy stepped forward. His face was pale, dirt-streaked, his mouth half open as if still trying to call for help. I stumbled back, slipped on the mud, and the next thing I knew, headlights were coming straight at me. I woke up in a hospital bed. Same antiseptic smell, same hum of machines. But this time, when I opened my eyes, Claire wasn't there. The nurse said she hadn't come in for days. Dr. Heller came later, smiling too brightly. She said I'd been in another accident, swerved into the same tree as before. I asked her about the recording, about the voice. She frowned. What recording? I told her to check her office. She nodded, humoring me. But as she turned to leave, I heard it again. That voice. Only this time, it came from her lips. "It's okay, son. I'm here." And then she smiled, exactly the way he used to.
There's a sound that lingers long after silence, the kind that doesn't fade but waits. Maybe it's the echo of a name we were never meant to hear again. Maybe it's the weight of a memory refusing to rest. A voice, a note, a whisper caught between time and truth. Tonight, we listened to those echoes, the ones that lived in rooms, in wires, in walls, and in the fragile space between forgiveness and forgetting. But some echoes don't belong to the past. Some reach forward, calling us from where we haven't yet been. And if you ever wake in the middle of the night, hearing something soft beneath the quiet, a voice that knows your name and speaks like it remembers you, don't answer it. Because sometimes the things that whisper in the dark aren't trying to be heard. They're trying to return. You've been listening to Mr. Haunting Whispers. Real stories, real fears. Until next time, keep your lights low and your mind open.
You've been listening to Mr. Haunting Whispers, where every truth leaves a scar. If the story unsettled you, good. That means you were listening. Subscribe and stay close to the dark, because the next whisper might be for you.